guys. I just want to throw out a few announcements before we get started in this episode. First off, thank you for stopping by to watch this. We're blessed to have the people that support us. Blessed to have people like you guys to share our videos, share the highlights of these kids. And, like we mentioned in this episode with Tailgate Talk with the Boys, that's the most important thing, is just getting these kids' names out there. There's a lot of talent in this area that just hasn't had the exposure yet. So we'll continue to do that, as well as we'll continue to try to get you all familiar with some coaches and, we're going to talk some football. So we're going to have fun doing that as well. I want to first say that we didn't get a player for this week. We had some things fall through, but next week we'll be back on that, interviewing a player. We had a great interview with Coach Wicks, the second time he's been on. So enjoy that. After that, we are joined by Tailgate Talk with the Boys, their host, Aaron. Super great guy, funny, very knowledgeable. After the interview with Wicks, we'll be doing our picks with Aaron. And he's also going to tell you a little bit about his podcast, too. So as far as announcements go, again, we want to throw out here, like we will every week, sponsorships. If anybody wants to sponsor us, any local business, restaurants, or anything like that, Southwest Virginia, message us, message me or Jamar on his Facebook. They're all linked with our Facebook account. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter. I think Facebook has kind of became our main thing as far as getting these out there, but those are still avenues if you'd prefer to watch them on that. And Spotify. The episode's always on Spotify. I do want to say, again, apologies for last week's episode getting out so late. Thankfully, we were able to kind of record this one on a Wednesday night like we usually do, and we're going to get it out tomorrow. The weather's crazy right now. I'm seeing all this stuff on the internet. I think I mentioned it in the episode, but again, we're sending out prayers to anybody that's dealing with any flooding or just bad road conditions. I want to throw that out there. I guess that should be about it for the announcements. Again, thank you for watching. Go down here at the bottom and hit the share button so we can get it out to as many people as possible. And we'll just continue to keep doing what we're doing. And we appreciate all the positive feedback. I don't think we've had any negative feedback. And now that I say that, we might have some just to prove me wrong. But it's been a blessing. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 32 and our Week 5 preview. We want to welcome back now first-year head coach for Honaker High School, Shane Wicks. What's up, Coach?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. We didn't get a chance to really talk about your coaching hire. Well, we did. We had like a 4-hour episode that we never got to put out. It was a little bit too long. But we both thought you was the right choice for the job. We both wanted you to get the job. So we want to say congratulations on that, first and foremost. Before we get started with the team, I just want to ask you, how did it feel to get that job over at Honaker?
I've wanted to be a head coach, and there were some other opportunities that presented themselves, and it just at the time wasn't the right fit. And I've told a lot of people, for lack of any other term, it was a God thing of just me staying the course that I wasn't even sure sometimes if that's the course I should take, but a lot of prayer, and of course didn't like the circumstances in which it happened, but trying to make the best of that situation, and very appreciative for this community and the opportunity to lead this program.
Yeah, he mentioned we had a 4-hour episode. I promise it wasn't all 4 hours. Wasn't just talking about you getting hired. we're not stalkers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But no, I was very happy for you. You were one of our real early guests early on, and just what we thought that was a great fit. Obviously, you're already in the system, but knowing that you as much you were into the whole coaching thing, we were excited to see how it went and how just things like that, how you took to it. What sticking with that? What if anything has come unexpected or has surprised you about being the head guy?
Of course, going from coordinator, there's a lot of work, at least time that I put into it, and I'm sure a lot of other coaches do as well. But wearing the hat of head coach and coordinator at the same time, there's a lot more that goes into it, of course. And there's a lot of things outside of actual football that you're orchestrating and trying to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed to make sure your program's going in the right direction, everything's done correctly, and you're not just setting things up for the year you're in. You're trying to set yourself up for years of success. There's just a lot more that goes into it than most people probably even begin to fathom.
So, yeah, you like Jamar mentioned, you was already in the program. Uh, Last year, you all kind of suffered a pretty tough loss against Galax, making it pretty far though. What did you do going into this off season to prepare for this year?
Well, we knew, of course, and it's been a big talking point for a lot of people is how many kids we lost, and we weren't naive to that fact, but we really worked. We had a lot of young kids that we knew were going to have to step up into bigger roles. So we worked the same stuff, and I know, Cameron, you're familiar with air raid and how practices are done. Those kids were familiar with what we wanted to do offensively, but we knew we would have to tweak a few little things there, just getting kids into the right positions and them understanding game time adjustments and how to actually play the game. It's one thing to go and throw the ball around 7-on-7, but it's not a game experience, and you don't get that until you play.
Did going, this I'm not in the summer and all that. I'm not sure the timeline of the events, but whenever everything happened and you became the new guy, did kids and everything? I'm assuming they were all bought in from the start. You probably didn't have to go through anything, not like you come in as a new guy, but just that reaction to you getting it, was it all positive, or was there some bumps in the road?
No, we really, as far as that, we didn't miss a beat. The kids, thankfully, during that time, they kept their nose to the grindstone. They kept working. We tried to keep things as normal as possible, and rolled right along. Really didn't miss a beat.
Speaking of the air raid, I may be getting the school wrong, but how Mummy's at? I think Sullivan East now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
have you made any trips out there or give him a call yet?
Actually, the head coach at Sullivan East, me and him actually spoke this weekend. We played at Emory together. So, and I mentioned it to him during the summer. I said, "You all got some special NIL deals down there at Sullivan East I don't know about. You're getting Hal Mummy and Stan are both down there." He said, "Nah, I'm just really lucky." So, but no, me and J.C. Simmons is his name, and we talk periodically, and we're planning on getting together when the season's over.
I have more. If you got any.
Go ahead, continue with
All
that.
right. Well, I'm gonna get into the year. So y'all had pretty high expectations despite losing everybody. I think on everybody's radar they had you towards the top. So I know that last year people had hope, but they really didn't know what you all were going to be yet. The year before that, you just getting started in the system. How was it different this year with all these expectations? Compared to the years prior.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, and even towards the end of last year, we had gotten a target on our back because people were starting to be more familiar with, hey, they're going to keep it wide open, they're going to put up points, and we had a lot of explosive plays that made us, for you guys, people like you guys, made us fun to watch. But now people are getting a little more familiar with what we're trying to do. You roll into this year with, of course, big expectations, and we have big expectations for our program as well. But again, like I said, we had a lot of young kids that those are big moments. Week one, you're playing your rival. That alone, even if both teams are 0-10 teams, rivalry games are different. Everybody knows that. You're getting the best from each team, and sometimes nerves and things play a factor. So you got young kids coming in, first game jitters. They're still trying to figure out what their identity in the offense is or in the defense. So those things we had to overcome a lot, and I think last week we really put together a complete game to where that's the first time we felt in the season everything was starting to click.
We mentioned losing that many players, and you talking about young guys having to step up. What kind of you can speak on how great it is having I guess a leader and your remain. I don't want to say your most important player, but everybody knows football quarterbacks probably one of your most important positions. Having a guy like Peyton already there, established. Talk about the importance of having him be the senior leader, bringing guys along. How it made your job probably easier.
Yeah, and that was a conversation throughout the spring and summer that me and Peyton had. Was he's not an outspoken guy. He's not really vocal most of the time. Now, like they'll be throwing, like if it wasn't raining out here tonight, they'd be throwing, and he'll talk to guys one on one. But like during practice, it was something like he would talk to me, and he would want me to echo what he's seeing. And that's one thing I said, it's got to come from you. And he's done a much better job of being that vocal leader to those guys, especially the young guys where there may be a route that they need to tweak just a little bit, or they need to look a little sooner, or set it down. Just minor things that he's done a really good job of being more of a vocal leader this year.
Yeah, and before I get into the season more, I just want to kind of bounce off of that as well with Peyton. I know in a lot of air raid offenses, and you look through the history of Hal Mummy, the quarterback almost becomes like a coach on the field. And so I think that, I guess, kind of talking to the point of losing players and stuff like that, I think, maybe going into the year or as the year goes on, it seems like that maybe once everybody kind of gets used to that system and stuff, that would be a big benefit to have him out there kind of helping them with that routes and stuff like that. So I guess my question is, how much freedom do you allow him to have right now with there still being, some new faces?
He has quite a bit of freedom. There's, his sophomore year, there were things that we would call more and direct. We're going this side or that side. And of course, last year he had a lot of freedom. He'd built a really good rapport with those guys, but he understands fully what we're trying to do. And that's what I've always told him. You have to be an extension of me on the field. And he's done a really good job of that. We can sit here and you tell him a play, and he'll draw it up, and I'll say, okay, then what's it look like versus one high versus two high? And he'll give me the adjustments on the route, and he does a really good job of relaying that to the guys. Like, hey, you need to stick it more upfield, or you need to flatten it out. So he does a great job, and he's got a lot of freedom to make adjustments. He made a really big adjustment against Holston last week. It was a third and long. He makes an adjustment on the route. We end up getting a first down to continue a long drive to milk the clock. So we trust him a lot, and he knows what we want to do and what it's going to take to be successful.
Coming into the season, you had, like you mentioned, a big rival game, 11, first game of the year. Obviously, for them, that's that's kind of after what y'all did to them year before last in the first game. I'm sure they had, a lot of revenge on their mind. So it's already, even if it wasn't a rival, it's kind of a circled game for them, big target on your back. So they're, obviously, like you said, records really don't matter much in those games. We talked to some guys from Richlands, and you played in the backyard brawl. You can kind of throw records out the window. But going to that game, kind of knew what for the most part, not what you was going to get, but, I mean, y'all were very familiar.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in that game, like, do you think, I don't know, anything that kind of that they did that surprised you that you all maybe wasn't ready for, or was it basically just the execution thing? 'Cause I know we've talked about it on here. People kind of wrote you off a little bit after that loss, but that you lost to a good team. Y'all had turnovers. Y'all were never out of that game. So I think people kind of overreacted a little bit after that one. But as far as from your perspective, was there anything in that game that kind of threw y'all off, or that they kind of did that you would wasn't prepared?
No, I can't say anything X's and O's. A lot of it boiled down to we just we turned the ball over or gave up some. There were, I think, 6 or 7 third and extremely longs that we bailed them out on plays that we didn't make, and we were driving a couple times, fumbled or threw an interception. Just mistakes you can't make against a good team, and nothing. I don't say any of that to take anything away from Lebanon. Tip my cap to them. They were the better team that day. They executed when we didn't. So you can't make those mistakes in a game like that and against a good opponent. We didn't execute very well, and we had some young guys who I think early their eyes were a little big, taking in the environment and getting adjusted to this isn't middle school or JV football. This is big boy stuff. So, but again, I think they did their job and we did.
I will say, as a air raid fan, it is pretty cool that both the programs, being the rival, that y'all have, uh, years ahead. I mean, you already year 3 into the air raid. We're in Honaker. They seem to be
Yeah,
getting into it. So just as a fan, that's going to be really fun to watch in years to come.
yeah,
Um, so talking about the next 2 games after the Lebanon game, blowout win against the rebuilding Castlewood program right now, and a tough loss against Rye Cove, which maybe this far in the season, maybe the best team this far. They've been playing great. How do
yeah.
you think, or how did you guys respond mentally to that loss? Because I know it was a big stage, Friday night rivals. Uh, did you have a talk with the team, or was the players? Did they have a meeting or something to kind of discuss things or recalibrate going forward?
Yeah, the kids themselves, they had a meeting after that one, and Rye Cove, another really good football team. We knew that going in. Excuse me, they they ran the ball really well, and that's what they wanted to do. And we knew we didn't. There were some execution things then. Turned the ball over again a lot that game. And when you get down against a team that likes to run the ball like that, that puts you at a disadvantage really quick. But we came out the following week, leading up to Holston, and had the best week of practice. We made a few adjustments, things of where we had people, how we were going to approach some things, still staying within the scheme of what we want to do. And the kids responded, like I said, had the best week of practice we've had. I had a conversation with them and told them, my senior year, and I played on some pretty good teams. I think my sophomore year, we lost, or my freshman year, we lost in the state semifinal. Then my sophomore and junior year, we played in the state finals. And my senior year, up to that point, we'd lost 3 football games in 3 years. And one of those being a state semifinal and one of them being a state championship. And I said, I was in a similar situation to you all. We had graduated a lot of kids. Normally, we weren't having to play both sides of the ball, and we lost a couple games in the regular season that people didn't expect us to lose. So we finished the regular season up 8-2, and started clicking at the right time, and went on to beat a Brookville team that had Logan Thomas, and then played in the state championship against a team that had one kid going both ways and gave them everything they wanted more. So I told them, I said, how you write this story is up to you all. And like you had said, Jamar, a lot of people wrote us off early, but we've kind of had the attitude that we're not going to write back. Like, this is a long season. They can write us off, but I love a good underdog story.
Yeah, me and Cameron have had this conversation. It's hard for us to talk about, talk about games and like give our kind of our opinions on like teams, because we don't want to be critical of basically kids. Like the
Yeah,
thing, and we have like having them on, but we also like to talk about stuff. So we've come to the conclusion that we just, we're going to talk about little things here and there, and hopefully not offend anybody. But I thought we were talking about you all a lot this season as far as, because y'all, obviously last year the success, and really this year it felt like early on it kind of got forgotten about a little bit after the Lebanon game, and then me and him discussed it probably more off of the podcast than on it. But y'all were right there in that game. It's not like they come out completely dominated, and then the Rykov game I just felt like they were just a little more physical than you all and were able to run the ball. But you had moments there even where like a few plays go different. So I think as long as y'all can get that running game or that defensively stopping runs is what we kind of look at right now.
Yeah,
is really you do something there, y'all are in most of these games. So yeah, the whole thing about writing a story, I think y'all are in a good spot. I think people are you're under the radar, and I think that's a good place to be for you all right at this point in the year. But yeah, if I'm picking, I take you all. I don't want to play y'all in the playoffs at all. If I'm a 1A school around here. But my question, I kind of went off on a little bit of a rant there. But my question I was going to ask was, having a player like Avery, how hard is it to, as a play caller, stay within your system and not say, "Hey, we got to get the ball to him every single play, every play"? Because you got a guy like that, it's hard to be like, "Hey, let's just not do this every single time."
yeah.
But how do you kind of incorporate him, but make a point to give him touches, but also stay within what you all do?
Well, I mean, it is extremely hard not to want to get the ball to him every single play. He is a freak of an athlete, and I'll put him up against any wide receiver around here. He's as big as big as they come as a receiver around here. He ran, I want to say, when he went to a couple camps this summer, ran a 4.6. He's about 190, 195. So he's a big, strong, physical kid, can run, has a great range as far as catch radius. And he can, you let him in the open field, I mean, it's hard to tackle him one-on-one. So we definitely want to get him the ball, but we also know that for us to be effective and for big plays to break for him, we're not going to just like, we've got to have other guys step up. Other guys have got to make plays. The run game, we've gotten much better there. We've added a few things to open things up. If people can drop out and drop 7 or 8 in coverage, I don't care who you are. It's much harder to throw. So we've got to be able to effectively run the ball and make people load the box. And we've made big strides the past couple of weeks in that.
Yeah, I think that me and Jamor actually mentioned Avery last week as being maybe a person that you could almost put in some sweeps and even run the ball with just to create opportunities. It seems like because the defenses have done a great job defending him at times, at least weeks prior to Holston. But it seems like just we didn't get to watch y'all's game last week. We were at PH, but reading the paper, it seems like you all did a lot to get him involved. Did you create new opportunities as far as like in the run game for him, or is it just maybe putting him somewhere else on the offense instead of on the outside?
A little bit of both. We've added a few things to where he's going to be part of the run game, as well as moving him in our base formations, still allowing him to get singled up at times, but also putting him in formations where he's going to run a route, whether he's the guy we're hoping to hit or whether he's running a route to clear out, open somebody else up.
Yeah, I didn't want to try to get you to give away too much. I guess I should
Yeah,
have worded
yeah.
that a little different. But
No, you're good. I don't care if people know what we're running. I'll give them a playbook. That's who we are, and it's no secret. I can tell people most of the time what play we're running, and if we do our part, then it doesn't matter if they know.
no, go ahead, more.
I was gonna say I don't think it's easy. If anybody's doing their job and watching film on y'all, it's no secret Avery's a kind of a key factor
Yeah.
in what y'all are gonna be doing. But moving forward to this week, I'm assuming y'all gonna be traveling right by my house on the way to Grundy. supposed to be rainy. I guess I'm assuming all weekend. So I'm sure. Did y'all play Grundy when you were at Richlands?
We did.
You
Yeah,
did?
they were in our district
Okay,
when I played.
I thought that was still the case. Any past experiences for you at Grundy? I don't think they were probably I know the early 2000s, 90s much better. Probably by the time when you were playing, they probably wouldn't as competitive with you all then. But any funny stories about or memories about coming back to Grundy?
I don't think I have ever been a part of a game at Grundy where the field was dry, ever. Even when I played, we swore up and down when we played them, but it didn't rain any that week, and we get there and it was wet and muddy, so we joked that they watered the field down. But no, I don't think I've ever played on that field dry. And we played them in the playoffs a couple years ago, kind of similar conditions as we're expecting Friday. So a few of these guys have played down there in those situations, and that kind of helps mentally, and having game experience with a wet, muddy ball, or and we've talked to our kids. There's not going to be as much traction there. There's going to be times we just have to get what we can get, and we're used to playing on turf. So if they want to save their field, we'll play it at home.
I don't think you're the
Yeah.
first person to come up with the theory about watering the field down. I've heard that from other people, but I can't confirm or deny anything. But I have. You're not the first one to say it.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember what year it was, but when David Johnson played for Richlands and they came over, and I think it was part of might have been the Dirty Dozen at Grundy at that time, is what they called them. I think it was raining that game too, if I'm not mistaken. Some pretty big matchups in the past, yeah, that rain's kind of affected. But talking more, I guess, about that game, I'm sure you saw the stats and maybe some film from last week against Patrick Henry. And Logan had a fantastic game. He has the ability to take over the game by himself. So just some challenges going into this game with him.
I mean, he's an electric athlete. I know his dad really well, and I've always kidded with John that he needs to keep him home that day. He's a heck of an athlete though, and he had a monster game. He could probably play a few different positions, but they've got him lined up at quarterback most of the time, so he's getting the ball in his hand every play. If we can limit him, he's one of those kids. I don't think you're going to stop completely. But limit him, limit the big plays, then we feel good about our game plan going into that. But no, you definitely got to know where number one's at.
Offensive for you all against them. I don't know that they've really. I'm not sure what Carroll County does. I know Patrick Henry runs the ball. Can't remember who else they played, but I don't think they've probably seen a passing attack. Ridgeview might be the only one, but they're obviously a little more different. Yeah, but so if the Ridgeview game is any indication, I think they give up quite a few points, but going into stuff like that, I guess you probably can't go only by what you've seen on film because y'all are going to do what you all do, but that give you an inclination of what y'all might be able to get, to have success with Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, you always look for keys when you're watching film, how people line up to certain players or certain formations, and week to week, we like certain things against certain defenses, but there's opportunities, and it may be different opportunities that we see are optimal for us this week versus say a Holston last week. But that's the fun part of coaching high school football is you're getting different looks, and each week you're seeing a different offense as a defensive coordinator. But there's always opportunities. You just have to take care of what we do. And the beautiful thing about the offense we run is there's no defense you can put out there that there's not at least opportunities. We just have to maximize on those opportunities.
So I'm going to get off this game just a little bit because I want you to talk about your roster. We already talked about Peyton. We've already talked about Avery. And those, of course, are household names, just like Aiden was last year and Parker. So just on the team right now, some guys that you have that they're not household names yet, but they will be by the end of the year.
I think Jackson Dye, he's starting to get a little bit of a name for himself. He's played really big first 4 weeks of the season for us. I think he's got maybe 6 or 7 touchdowns already. Maddox Sykes, man, he does a lot for us on both sides of the offensive and defensive line. He's a brute. And Zach Hurley, a guy that we really missed not playing last year, but he's stepped up really big for us this year. He's a wrestler, so we love to get those type of kids out. They're tough, and he gets after it, gives you everything he's got every play. And we've got a lot of young guys. I think we were actually talking about it after the Rye Cove game. We've got 8 underclassmen starting on defense, and a few of those guys are freshmen and sophomores who are growing up each week, and we're really excited about their future and just how much different of a player they're going to be by, week 9, week 10.
I had one more quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jamar, if you don't care. I know it's been said, and you've probably heard it as well this year. After losing the guys you lost, people started to, I'm sure, question the system. And, we've had this debate among people. The air raid, does it have to have the Jimmies and Joes to work? Or can you work with that?
No, that's one thing. Of course, when you've got Jimmys and Joes, any X's and O's will work. But the thing that I'll say, I've seen some less talented players operate in an air raid offense and compete with teams they should never compete with. There's a couple good friends of mine who run it in other states that, and they'll say, well, a certain year they had a guy at receiver that wasn't a burner. He wasn't big. He was a possession receiver, but had a great year, or a quarterback that didn't have a killer arm and he put up, 3,000 yards passing. So, yeah, when you've got Jimmys and Joes, those matter, but it's not a necessity. But I think the biggest tell of a good coach is you put your Jimmys and Joes in a good situation to be successful.
I've never really thought about this before, but it's just now come to me, and this is probably going to be, for a lot of people hearing it, probably going to be a stupid question, but I'm really not sure of the answer. I think I can lean more towards what the answer will be, but you'd be a perfect person to ask since you are coaching the air raid offense and you played defense in college and high school. Is there a defensive version of the air raid, like alignment that you can throw out that would maybe, like you said, help with when you're not as talented every year?
Yeah, yes and no, I guess. I've heard a lot of people say that the 3-3-5 or there's a 3 high safety defense that some people run that's kind of a variation of the 3 stack. And the big thing there is it just allows you to get more people in space when you're smaller. But for a lot of single A schools where you're struggling with numbers, that's really good when you've got kids that are maybe a little undersized, but that don't care to, come up and hit somebody. That can help, and you can align differently to look like a 3-4 or even a 4-3 out of that. So there's things you can toy with, one safeties. There's 100 different ways to win a football game. I've always said that. You can be a power I team. You can be a spread team. Defensively, you can be a 3 even front, odd front defense. Everything works if you've got the right pieces and you're making the right adjustments.
So, I told Jamar a few weeks ago, and I think it's still true now. I think this year kind of in a way reminds me of your first year there. And I think that beginning of the year, things wasn't, they were learning the system, so it wasn't clicking just yet. And although you do have pieces from last year, I think that by the end of the year, it's going to be a completely different team than what we saw at the beginning. And I think even last week is probably a good indication of that. So I just want to kind of finish with that, but I got I got two questions that is a little bit outside of football. Well, one of them's not so much, and we can edit this out if the answer is, doesn't need to be on here. But
Okay.
you all had one of the best intros in football last year with the DX intro. So we want to know why it's
Uh, we want to keep everything family friendly. I'll say that.
okay. Fair,
Yeah.
fair.
This has really been bothering Cameron since week one.
Hey, I'm still a fan of
Yeah,
that intro. Believe me, I
yeah.
like it.
Mar, do you got any more? I got one more I'm going to ask you.
I don't have anything football related.
Okay, mine's not either. I think me and you both have the same thing.
You want me to?
So,
You want to go ahead?
well, we missed an opportunity last time you was on here, and we were both very mad that we did this. But now you spent some time in MMA, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to ask you about that. How was that?
It was fun. It was a really good way before, all the responsibilities of three kids and all that to stay in shape. And I've always been, I guess, an aggressive kind of guy. I mean, of course, I played football, and that was a way to kind of harness that. But I enjoyed it. It was a really good experience. I learned a lot. Now I'm afraid my daughters are wanting to box or do jujitsu. So, but no, it was a really fun time. Met a lot of really good people. Actually got to train with Stephen Thompson, who he's in the UFC. Fought some pretty big fights. Got to meet a lot of really cool people, and really learned a lot that I probably wouldn't have learned otherwise.
At I guess it's been probably a year ago now, or almost, when we had your last interview. After it was over, Cameron was like, "Did you know Shane did MMA?" And I said, "Yeah, I knew that."
I was so mad at
And
myself for
and
not.
I was,
Yeah,
when he asked me about
yeah.
that, because we used to cover MMA a lot more, like we talk more like a lot about UFC last year. But when he asked me, I was like, "Oh yeah, of course we should have asked Shane about, like, that's something we talk about." And we both kind of just kicked ourselves. But yeah, and my song kind of every week. I don't know if you've paid any attention to any of these or not, but one question that I have asked the players is, all football topic, is what would be their UFC walkout song, and
Yeah.
it's a hard one for a lot of them to answer on the spot. You've actually literally been the first guest that's actually had a walkout song, so I'll go with current right now, not what you did walk out to, but if you could pick one, if you had to go into a fight Saturday, UFC, T-Mobile Arena, whatever it's called, what would be your walkout?
Oh, that's tough. Probably maybe something Five Finger Death Punch, maybe something of that nature. Try to
Okay.
try to get.
So I'm curious, what was your walkout song when you did walk out? Because I know
I,
that was a little bit, a little bit ago.
yeah, no, I would honestly have to go back. I don't know that I remember. I think I had maybe a couple different ones,
Yeah.
but I imagine it was something rock, a little
Mm-hmm.
heavier. But I can't remember right off.
I'm guessing your players know that you fought before, right?
Yeah, yeah, they make it a point, especially some of the guys that wrestle. They'll come up behind me and try to get a single leg or something, and I've wrestled around with a couple of them before, and they still know they can't take me down.
Well,
Uh,
I figured they did because usually when I'm picking up my son and I'm outside of Fuller Field, I see some of the guys getting ready, and sometimes I see some gloves up there and some
Yeah,
guys on the ground. So I figured as much.
yeah. No, there's a few of them that like to box, and I'm going to talk Peyton into boxing one day.
He's got the reach for it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
are you still? I think I've watched it. You got fights on YouTube. I'm still right.
I think they're on there.
So there.
Yeah, I try to tell people I'm an old man now, so I'm a lover, not a fighter now.
I think I've at least watched a couple of them over the years. But
Yeah.
the next question I had, this kind of staying on the same topic. This again, this don't have to You can just be the first three come to your head, or you can take time to think about it, whichever you want. But your three favorite UFC fighters all time.
Okay, GSP for sure. John Jones, just because he's a freak. And number three, man, that's tough. I'd probably go Conor McGregor just because of his presence. Not that he was really just like the bravado that he came with. Like it,
Yeah.
he knew how to sell a fight.
Yeah, that's a fact. Mar, do you have any more for him?
Well, no, we took up too much time. You know how I do random weird ones, but I won't hold them any longer than we already have. But I appreciate time. Sorry about a couple of them. I got to rambling on a couple of them questions. I get into asking, and then my mind goes somewhere else while I'm literally asking questions. So, but hopefully it wasn't too confusing for you. I appreciate you coming back on with us again. And I don't know that I'll be there Friday because I hate getting wet, but
I don't blame you.
If it looks like it might slack up at all, I'll probably be down there. But good luck to you, and hope y'all stay healthy the rest of the year. And we can't wait to keep watching and see how y'all develop as time goes on.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. And Mar, you can go ahead and end it on your end if you want. Yeah, back here again, guys. Hate to interrupt this great episode we have going on, but I did want to mention, if you haven't watched our episodes before, haven't heard of us, you may have missed out on a lot of great guests that we've had on. So just to throw out a few names before we continue on, a great episode on Coach Ray Jones. We had a few guests come on, tell stories about him. Probably one of the best defensive minds that's ever came through Southwest Virginia. So check that one out. It is an audio only. But then we also have part 1, part 2 with Jeff Lester, former Garden Green Dragon, Coach Brian Moore, Lands varsity basketball head coach. And then just among some of the other ones, and I'll run through them, we had a high school football preview for this year. We had Coach Hunter Norris from Lebanon, Eastside head coach Mike Rhodes, Twin Valley head coach Tommy Krieger, Hurley head coach Zach Deal. Then we also had on part 1, we had Grundy head coach Keegan Bartley, Castlewood head coach John Chisholm, Twin Springs head coach Keith Warner. Among some of the other names from the first year that we've done this, Coach Greg Tester, Coach Shane Wicks. We even had former players such as Mark Dockery on, and Brady Hess, probably one of the best storytellers you've ever heard. So check out all these episodes, and I know I've even missed some. Had a lot of great episodes with the players and stuff coming on through basketball season and last football season. Go back, check them out. And going forward, we have a lot of guests we've already got lined up, special guest episodes, as well as more player interviews. And then we also have some music episodes we're going to do. We mentioned at the very beginning that we were big into country music, and any music really out of this area, just to promote some local artists. We used to cover weekly country music. We haven't done that as much now with our plate being kind of full, but we do have some local artists that we have scheduled to come on, and we have a few episodes coming up that's going to be special. So yeah, check those out and stay tuned for what's going forward. Thank you again. Welcome back, guys. We're about to start our Week 5 preview. First, we want to welcome on one of the hosts of Tailgate Talk with the Boys. Aaron, will you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little about your podcast?
Yeah, I'm Aaron, and I'm over Tailgate Talk with the Boys, and we started our podcast about last year, probably around close to the same time, I guess you guys did, and was just at work one day and talking about, how we don't really have people doing that kind of thing around, and so we decided we'd give it a try, and man, it's just really taken off. And then we find you guys, and then a couple others that's doing this, and I think it's great for the kids, and to try to get them some notices and stuff from, because a lot of people don't really go into depth like this podcast do, getting the linemen involved and different things like that. So that's pretty much how it started, and We really didn't think it would take off, to be honest with you, but just like overnight, it just took off and was like, wow, so we're watching it grow.
Yep. Go ahead,
Was you
Mark.
all come living from over that way? Especially, did you listen to the Pigskin Picks?
Yes. On
Yeah,
93.5.
yeah. So
Yeah, that was kind of a big thing for us too.
yeah.
For a long time, we do have that, and then also Gate City Radio Station does a real good job. They're good friends of mine too, and so they do a real good job about but they cover just Gate City stuff mostly. So we just want it to be to where, at the time being, mostly the Cumberland district and the Mountain Seven, because we were more familiar with those teams, you know, so, but it's spreading out more than that. I mean, we don't want to get on your guys' toes with y'all's end of
Oh
the,
no,
but
I think that's one of the things we're really excited about having you on. We've had some other people on that are from further out, and they were great too. But it's really nice having somebody on a podcast like you all that are close by. So a lot of the
yeah,
teams that we kind of cross paths a lot with what we
absolutely.
cover. And I also want you to kind of introduce or tell us a little bit about your other hosts that are on the show. And you got free reign because they're not here, so you can say whatever. They
Oh
can hear
yeah,
it
I
tomorrow.
mean, I'll definitely. They know me. I don't have no filter sometimes with them and stuff. But no, we're actually right now going through a little bit of a personnel change. Sean was actually the original host that came on with me, co-host that came on with me. He's got a band now, so things are starting to take off for him in that band, and he's wanting to pursue the music, and it's taking up a lot of his time doing that. So he's decided to, step out a little bit. I mean, he's going to still record from time to time. He wants to still do it, but I just actually brought in another guy that we used to work with, Grant Atkins. Now he played at Coburn, and his nephew's actually the quarterback that's hurt right now at Eastside. So we got him coming on. He's on this week's podcast with us, and then K Dog. He's a big Appalachia Bulldog. I mean, if you've ever heard any stories about Appalachia Bulldog, Kermit is a prime example of what you get out of Appalachia. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, he's just a good old country boy, Ratty. I mean, he's pretty awesome. Some of the things he says is funny, like "What in the world?" We make fun of him over it. So as a lot of our fans just love Kermit just because of the way he talks and stuff.
I always really enjoy listening to him every time he's on.
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's really cool.
So y'all ain't stepping on our toes at all. The way I look at it, more
Absolutely,
and the more exposure players get, don't matter where it comes from. Because I mean, that's kind of
absolutely.
why we started it anyway. Well, we're kind of same way y'all did. We found ourselves built, sitting by a fire or just hanging out or something, sitting on my back porch, just arguing and debating. And I was like, we should just record this stuff. And that went more from the recording that us discussing things to the giving players a platform type of thing. Because I remember growing up in high school and even up well beyond that, I loved listening to Pigskin Picks on 93.5. That was a big deal for me. I would listen every week. And then we had Lloyd Combs, who was a sports writer here for the Mountaineer, a local paper that was like huge in our area for, covering everything, covered all sports. And then when he passed away, kind of left a little bit of a void. They still do, the best they can there at the Mountaineer to cover, but it's not like Lloyd. You know what I mean? Lloyd was a
Yeah,
big deal.
absolutely.
And so that kind of what kind of spawned our podcast of as far as just giving them players an opportunity. In today's world, it's not really about newspapers as much as, stuff like this. It's media and social media. So
Yeah,
anytime, I mean, yeah, he ain't stepping on our toes. We love the interaction, and more eyeballs, the better is what we feel like. So
yeah, man. We feel the same way, and like I've said before, anytime we can help you with anything, just let us know. We're more than happy to do that. Like you talking about losing some of those venues or alleyways of people getting the news out and stuff. I mean, like Times News here now, they've quit covering anything past Scott County for Virginia. I mean, they won't even They won't even do anything for Union. Like when the football preview comes out, I don't know if you've ever seen the Times News football preview, but it's always been huge. You had Northeast Tennessee in it and Southwest Virginia, and they done a big old thing on it. But now, Scott County was the only, 3 teams, Rocco, Gate City, and Twin Springs was the only 3 that they put in it. And then, we got other things here like TriCitySports.com, Steve Mathis and all them. They do a good job, but they're going to cover more Northeast Tennessee, But so yeah, any way that we can get the word out and help these kids get noticed and recognized for their achievements, that's what it's all about. It's all about them, really, to be honest.
Yep. I agree completely, and going forward, anything that we could ever do to help you all, definitely don't be shy to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to ask you, still a little bit on the show, some of your favorite memories so far of the show that you had
on our show. Some of my favorite memories. Oh Lord, probably I don't know if I should tell it because I think it's going to come out on this next podcast.
Well, you can wait on that, or even just some of the favorite guests you had. I guess would be an easier way to do it.
Now, as far as guests goes, probably one of my favorite ones that we've had on. I've had a couple on. Mike Rhodes was really good. He was really, really good. Gary Collier, which I've known Gary for a long time from his days here at Gate City. He's an awesome old school coach, and he's probably one of our favorite ones that we've had on overall.
Yeah, I think that we haven't decided yet what we're going to do on Eastside Rye Cove Week, but I think that he's on the radar. Somebody we might want to get on here. He seems like a great guy, and I listened to a little bit of that.
Oh, you'll love him.
Yeah, he definitely, and you can see it with his kids. Just the character they have and the work ethic. You can tell from them what a great guy he is. You don't want to give away too much about tomorrow, but just a preview for those of you, for the fans that have watched this episode or are watching this episode in the morning that haven't got over to y'all's yet. Just a preview without giving away too much. Just a preview for that episode you got.
Well, of course we're running through our college football at the first, so it's kind of short right now. We're just mostly trying to pick top 25s and kind of run down last week's picks that we had and what went on. Then in the high school, we're covering a pretty good selection of what we picked the last time. There was a big discussion on the Union and Graham game from this past week. And that one gets kind of interesting. So I hope they'll come over and kind of see, kind of how that one went.
I'm really looking forward. I can't remember the last time I was looking forward to something this much as far as a podcast.
Yeah.
Because every time you start to talk about it, you almost like you start smiling and laughing.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait to actually hear what goes on. So you got me hooked already. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Kermit's going to kill me. I just know that, really just trying to get a lot out of him, and it's pretty interesting,
That's what makes for a good episode and a good relationship between partners, So before, it's my last thing, before we get into some football. I don't know if Jamar saw this or not, but I did. Today you reshared or reposted, whatever, on Facebook at the WCYB, I think, the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was kind of funny because I think I cannot remember her name, but the anchor, I think does it.
Heather Williams.
Yeah, Heather Williams. I don't think she realizes that she's not on her post, and it's doing really good for you all because she's on there debating people on your all's post.
Oh, and I love it, and that's what I told her on her. I'm like, you're running my algorithm up. See, I'm the type of person here on this podcast, I will say stuff to try to get comments, like, I love Rocco. I got family out there, but I still will dog them every now and then because them people are ruthless. And they'll start, what I mean? Anything gets my algorithm up, I'm all about it. So, yeah, she was killing it for us today. I sent her a private message later and thanked her for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was great. I really did. Jamar, if you haven't got a chance to see that, you need to go check it out because she's getting a lot of heat on there from people. And granted, I think, just to talk about that top 5 for a second, I think rightfully so. Nothing against Ridgeview. at all. I think Ridgeview's got a good team. I think they're much improved. I've learned a lot about Ridgeview listening to you guys, but I don't know that I would have them at 1, and I don't know that I'd have Union all the way back. I think at 4 or 5. Can't remember where
I
they
think
have
they
them
have
at.
them at 5.
Yeah,
At 2-2. And then her argument with me today was, well, they've lost 2 games, but then on the Northeast Tennessee side, if you look at it, I argued back with her. Well, you have Greenville sitting at 3-2, which one of their losses was a forfeit. It was over paperwork. The kid did nothing wrong, or it was nothing like that. It was just during the transfer part of it, the paperwork wasn't submitted correctly. So therefore, it didn't have nothing to do with the outcome of the game. They won 52-0, and rightfully so. But the reason why they're ahead of all these other teams that's less losses or even undefeated teams is because of who they are. They're Greenville, and rightfully so. I mean, I would have them at number 1 because they'll destroy everybody around here, So my argument was Union is 2-2. You have lost to Science Hill, which is like in the top 5 in the state of Tennessee, and they just came off of a game with Maryville, which I don't know if y'all know anything about Maryville. Maryville's won thousands of state championships. I mean, you go look at it. There's like a 20-year span there where they won state championships either every year or they might have been 1 year from it. But I mean, they've won like over 20 some state championships there. I mean, they're just unreal. Look them up. And nobody in Northeast Tennessee had even come close to beating them since like 1950 something. And Science Hill had them on the ropes this past week. So that's a team that they lost to. And then they lost to Graham, which more than likely, as history has it, is going to have Graham and Union in the Region D championship once again. So how do you put them down there, with their losses? That's my only argument to her.
I completely agree, and I think that on the Virginia side of things, the close loss against Graham may be the most impressive thing on any of their schedules. I mean, even though it was a loss, the fact
Yeah.
that they played them that close might be more impressive than anything that Ridgeview, Abingdon, Eastside, or any of them's done. And that's nothing to take away from them, but
No.
I mean, Graham's Graham.
Yeah,
That's a
Graham's
great game.
Graham, Union's Union.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest with you, there was Graham. I mean, Union missed a lot. They did miss a few things. I mean, that game could have easily been 21-7.
Yep.
I mean, you're like just maybe a holding call away, or just a missed block that that the guy just barely missed or whatever. I mean, it could have been either way, to be honest with you. Them two are juggernauts with each other.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get started, well, we're going to get started in some high school football. Just before we get into this week's games, some players and teams to watch in y'all's opinion. Just it could be out your way or even outside of that. Just some players and teams to watch.
Well, honestly, right now, I mean, I think the top 2 right now in our area to watch in AA or AAA. Of course, Abingdon's AAA, but they are in our district, in the Mountain 7 district. But them 2 definitely are 2 teams to watch. I think they're going to make a good playoff run. Ridgeview, I mean, like from the earlier conversation we had through all that, I was started getting bombarded on a private message by a Ridgeview guy, saying that we were biased toward, Union and Gate City, which is by far, I don't feel like that's the case. But, Ridgeview has a good team, but I mean, I don't know how tight the wheels are on the wagon, so I don't want to get on it and ride it yet, that they've got to prove to me that it's safe for me to ride that wagon. So, but Union and Abingdon for sure are probably the top 2 right now. Gay City, but now their defense is playing great. It's just they've not found any offense yet. So, and I mean they could turn that around and won't be one there. I mean they're a sleeper, but I would put it Abingdon, Union, and Ridgeview right now the top 3. And then of course single A you got Eastside and Rycove down here. I mean, then you got everybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Marty, you have anything before we get into Week 5 slate?
No, I just think that thing y'all were talking about, I looked it up while y'all were talking, and it's just about the most ridiculous list I've ever seen. The fact that you think because Union lost by a point to Graham, who's one of those two are probably going to have a really good chance of playing in the state championship, whoever doesn't win the region or whoever wins the region. The fact that's not just like you said, just because you lose that game doesn't mean that. Like, to me, a top 5 list is who's the best teams, not the best records. Like, if you're going to go by best record, just don't call it. Hey, here's who's got the best record. There's no point in making a list of a top 5 unless it's only about who you think is actually better. You can have an opinion, but if you got Union there last week, you don't drop them to 5th because they lost to Graham. Like, that's crazy. So I can see it don't make any sense to me. I'm with you on Ridgeview too. Also, I just throw it out there. I know that they got the capability, and this year with quarterback healthy, but until I see it, you know what I mean. Before I think they got the possibility of being really good, but you got to kind of show it to me. I still think they're probably usually got them. I got them in my top 4 2A teams in the region, but until you can kind of go out there and do it consistently, it's kind of like you said, you're kind of weary about really going all in on them. But yeah, that's crazy that how do you go from they were 1 last week, right? The top 5 thing. That's crazy. I don't understand that. I don't know who that. I don't follow that lady, but I'm not sure why she would think that would make any sense.
Well, if you're going to go on record, I mean, take Union out, put Lebanon in. They're 4-0.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? And they're in the coverage area. They'll use that as an excuse a lot.
Yeah,
but their coverage area goes plumb up into Tazewell County.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in Tazewell County. That's the only news they get. They don't get the local up there.
No. And I thought that I thought Lebanon could have had I know they played single A schools, but I thought some of those teams they played, with the East Side, some of the teams they've played, I thought it'd been a good. I think that matchup would be a real close matchup. But Heather, if you're watching this show, if you want to come on debate next week, we'll have a spot for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? She may know something we don't. I don't know, but I just don't know how you could have a team 1 and then lose to a quality opponent like Graham, and then you drop them below. I mean, as much as I love Rye Cove and Eastside, I don't think they match up well against Union.
Well, maybe I can get her a comment for your all's podcast and ours too. So I'm going to say this. I mean, if you'll watch their picks that they do on the week, every week, they're pretty good for Tennessee. But when it comes to Virginia, they have no clue. So there you go. That's the story.
Okay.
So go ahead and comment and let us know. Heather, we appreciate it.
What's up, everybody? Just hopping back in here again. I hate to interrupt. Before we get into our predictions and previews for week 3, just a little disclaimer we want to put out. We do get most of our stats from the Bristol paper. Stay up to date with the most recent news in high school sports around here. Go and subscribe to them or join their newspaper. Great staff over there. It seems like they're always on top of it. Also, a special shout out to our stats guy, John Ward. We just want to send a thanks to him. But thank you again. All right. Well, we're going to go through and we're going to pick these games. I know that you are probably doing this as well on your show. And I'll be, as soon as we put ours out, I'm going to be over to listen to yours because I always really enjoy it. And I think sometimes we're pretty closely aligned. But before we get into these games, I do want to mention there has been some games moved from Friday night to tomorrow night, which by the time this comes out will be tonight, Thursday night. So I wanted to mention those. And that's Twin Valley at Craig County, Patrick Henry at John Battle. If you know of any more, I don't know. I think those are 2.
To be honest with you, I think the John Battle is the only one that I saw that I can remember myself.
That's what I feel like there was more, but those are the 2 that I found. And, even tonight, prayers for everybody out there that's going through the weather because it's pretty bad in some places. And even the days ahead, hopefully, hopefully it's not as bad. I mean, I ain't going to say just at game time. Hopefully it's not bad at all, period. No flooding. So we'll go through. We'll start off at Honaker at Grundy first because we just had Coach Wicks on. Honaker's 2-2 at Grundy 0-3. Logan Lester last week had a huge game. He had 310 rushing yards, 153 passing yards, 5 total touchdowns. And as Coach Wicks mentioned when he was on, Honaker got a big win against a very hot Holston team. And a win and a week of practice, I think they really needed to kind of get their heads on straight going forward. Avery Music had 7 catches for 127 yards and 1 touchdown, and he also ran 1 in. So I'll kind of bounce it around to y'all just at no particular order at times, but I'll go ahead and send it over to you, Aaron.
Yeah, on this game here, I feel like last week's win that Honaker got over Patrick Henry was kind of a staple for them on this season. I think if Patrick Henry wins that game, their season may start taking a detour off a little bit. So I think it's a game that helped them get their confidence in, and then they've got Grundy coming in, which is going to be another run. It's Grundy, correct? I am right.
Yeah, it's Honaker at Grundy. Yep.
Man, I really feel like they struggled with the run game that Ryko brought, and I feel like Grundy's going to be able to move the ball on them really good on the ground. And Honaker's just missing a few tools out of the toolbox this year, so I'm going to roll with the wave.
Go ahead, Moore.
I think obviously the running game has been a weakness for Honaker's defense this year. I don't know that Grundy they lined up in a power against Patrick Henry last week, and it didn't work for a couple possessions. Then they finally spread it out and let Logan go to work. I think though obviously with the weather being the way it is, north south is going to be an important factor. I don't know if you can really get a lot of good cut traction to make a lot of cuts. Grundy's line up front will be physical. Grundy doesn't really have like the physical backs that like a Rykov has, like the big backs. So I don't know. I think that might be a little different because they're like the cutting the Grundy's backs do. They're more of like they run hard, but they're not that big. But I think I would give Grundy the edge on that aspect of it. If Peyton can keep a dry football in his hands, I think Honaker has a chance to move the ball. Again, though, you got receivers trying to cut, and it's wet and muddy. I think the weather really helps Grundy. I want to go with Grundy. I think they're by far the best 0-3 team in the region.
Absolutely.
I think they played a tough schedule. Carroll County away, Ridgeview High School, now Patrick Henry last week, and went right down to the wire with them. I think Grundy's a good team. I think eventually they're going to get a win. I think at home with the weather, I think this will be a good week for it. I also think Honaker is probably better than their record shows, but I think this week I'm going to lean slightly towards Grundy. But it's kind of a toss up to me. But I'll give a little bit of an edge to Grundy, especially with the weather.
Yeah, and the weather is a huge factor. I mean, it might be the biggest factor in the game, period, because we talked about Coach Wicks. When that field gets muddy, I mean, it's not turf. It's pretty rough field to play on. So I do think I'm talking about echo what Jamar just said. Just a lot of north to south running is going to be a big factor for Grundy. Give a shout out to my cousin Carson Deal that we had on last week, and I'm not just saying this because he's my cousin, but I think he could be a factor in this game because he's somebody that, he just gets and runs. He runs hard. He might not have the spin moves or whatever, but getting those 3 or 4 yards is going to be huge this Friday. And I'll tell you, Grundy, even though they're 0-3, losing to Patrick Henry last week and it was 54-50, and it was 35-14 at halftime. That second half gave them a lot of confidence going into this week. Man. And I think it will be hard for Peyton to throw, but I really do think they're going to get Avery involved a lot more in that running game. I know Coach Wicks kind of hinted at it, didn't want to give away too much. I think this is really going to be a tale of Avery Music versus Logan Lester. I think you're going to see both of them have huge games running the ball. I like what Honaker has as far as the players, not necessarily on the line of scrimmage, but the linebackers and safeties. if the safeties and stuff they'll come up hard Friday night, I think they can do a lot of damage as far as trying to slow down Grundy's game. I feel like I'm going with Honaker right now, close. But no, it could go either way. It really could, and that's what happens when it rains, and you're gonna get a sloppy game, and it's probably the cheap thing to say, but turnovers. I mean, in a game like that, turnovers are going to be big.
Oh yeah. So the running back is your cousin for
Yeah,
Grundy?
Carson Deal. Yep, the
Man, he's
fullback
got
running
some
back there.
wheels, brother.
Yeah, he can. I mean, he
He
can
can
run hard.
fly.
He's also the one on the clip I shared. His mom sent it to me that did the Pat McAfee and kicked the onside and recovered it himself. So yeah,
Oh
great
yeah.
kid. Very, very. I don't think he's going to go play college ball. He said. I think he's looking to go into engineering. Uh, but yeah, wonderful kid and a very great family. His mom and dad are super nice people.
Yeah. He's got some wheels, I know that.
He does. He does.
And not well. Just to throw this out there because
Yeah.
give him his props. Trey Turner Grundy last week had a
Taylor, I
huge
think.
well,
Yeah, we were talking about this last week. Kept
it's
getting. I
not
think it's
Turner.
Trey
It's
Taylor.
Trey Taylor.
I think
Either
so.
way, he had a huge game.
Yeah.
Receiving wise, and big play made by him. He was a real problem. If he can be a threat on the outside, if they do decide to kind of spread it out a little bit, and you got to keep up with him, you got to keep up with Carson, the fullback there in the backfield or wherever they line him up. Then you also got to account for Lester all the time. That's a third dimension to that offense that could be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this next one, I think I know where we're probably going to go with it, but Ryko 4-0 at Castlewood 0-4. Ryko has scored more than 50 points in every game this year. Last week, Ryko's Carter Roach Hodge had 4 catches for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also had 45 rushing yards against Thomas Walker. I want to give him a shout out. I know we cover Will Rollins and Landon quite a bit. So, yeah, Carter had a great game. Aaron, I'll go ahead and send it over to you for this one, Ryko at Castlewood.
Yeah, a lot of people, after seeing the game with Honaker with Rocco, they think that they're one-dimensional, probably a running game. But, Lane had 200 and some yards passing this past week. So, I mean, they can definitely do it all. I just don't think that Castlewood has enough depth matchup with the line. I mean, it's they may shoot them Eagles' his wings off coming up 65, but it ain't gonna be enough to stop them, son. I got the Eagles in this one big. They're probably another 60-point week here for the Eagles.
Right,
yeah, I feel the same way. They're going to get 50 again, and it's probably going to be in the first half. They'll win big this week, but we had a conversation with a guy over there at the Ryko Honaker game who he kind of said it was obvious who the two best players on the field were, meaning Peyton and Avery, and I don't disagree necessarily with that at all. Like they're very obviously probably the two that stand out the most. If he's not one of the top two, if he isn't third, he's a close third. And talking about Landon, I think, from my opinion, just because he's not 6'3", people don't look at him like one of the best players on that field that night. But to me, I'd almost take him out of that. I mean, the quarterback position is like it's not as, I don't know, it don't jump off the page at you, I guess, because they don't do that all the time, but he's very capable. And as far as just a pure football player, like he's it. And that interception, or he threw an interception and got up and run that guy down last over at Honaker. I mean, that's all you need to know about that kid. Well, we've talked about
absolutely.
this
No stop
for weeks
absolutely.
now, yeah, and I'm a huge fan. But yeah, as far as Castlewood goes, like I said, that's a rebuilding year. It's going to be another long night for them. But so I'm going to go ahead and get you to say, give me the Eagles, because in a couple of years, that's what the county school is going to be, the Eagles. So I need to go ahead and get used to saying it, I guess.
Yeah, man. Wear it out. I could say one more thing with them talking about Landon. A lot of people don't realize in this Robbie Norris offense that he brought over from Sullivan North, that quarterback does a lot of blocking and lead blocking in this offense. And I mean, that kid he's pulling lineman duties, as well. And I mean, and he's blocking good.
Yeah, we were joking about that. Like instead of turning on like a toss and rolling out to fake a bootleg, he's turning and tossing and he's turning right back around and lead blocking. It's crazy.
And he's a listener to the show. Even last year, he was listening. So, Landon, if you're listening, I think you have a lot of kids around here drinking that Pedialyte that you mentioned. He's trying to, him and Will, I think, is trying to get that Pedialyte sponsorship, NIL going into college. But I have Ryko too. I mean, I think that, and we try to say this every week. I think in almost a way to make us feel better about not picking Castlewood because we love the coach there. He was on their show before the season, and the numbers they're bringing out, I think they have 40 some players. But it's going to take time, and it's just a constant battle to keep them committed all year because it will pay off. I mean, it'll pay off years down the road, but it's just getting them to weather this storm. So yeah, I got Rycove, and I just hoping a game like that, if it does get out of hand, nobody gets hurt or anything like that, especially with the weather.
Well, I was gonna say I said 50 in the first half. With the weather, it may not be 50 till the second half. So I will say again there. I'll redo that statement. It may take them a little longer to get to 50, but
we'll give you another redo if you want it.
Yeah,
it'll be settled before the gates even open if you want to do it.
No, I'm good on that. I think that's my last. I think that's
my. Next one up, Patrick Henry 2-2 at John Battle. It was 0-3. Last week, Patrick Henry, Alex Brown, and Mikey Jenkins each had 4 rushing touchdowns against Grundy. And I think with all the points being scored, we were at the game, which I had my young one, and I think I did more chasing him than I did. I'm pretty sure my son, at 3 years old, I'm pretty sure he had more rushing yards than Logan did Friday night, as much as I chased him around. The game, well, we talked about it, Jamar. We didn't really see a particular person from Patrick Henry stick out, as like what we did with Grundy. But when I read those stats, each one had 4 rushing touchdowns. They scored 54 points. So that's pretty impressive. I didn't really notice it, I guess, when we was watching because it felt like they were hitting from just all different angles. I'll go ahead. I think you're getting ready to say something, Jay Moore, so I'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's I talked about that this week. They had was more by committee than it was, than one individual runner. Does Patrick Henry get the starter back this week, or is it next week that he's supposed to? You remember saying anybody said?
Yeah, when I talked to Coach Padgett last week, and we had talked about him, but I think that he didn't really say when. Yeah, I remember.
I had heard today from a timeline from somebody, and it seems like it was either this week or next week, possibly. So they get him back, just add another guy to that, and probably get some better on defense. Even if he's not back this week, I'm still taking them to go get that win. I don't know enough about John Battle to really make a real good guess here, or to comment on their team. It's one of those teams that we don't really, for whatever reason, we don't get to cover a lot. So I'll just take Patrick Henry if for no other reason because of lack of knowledge on John Battle.
Good pick.
Yep. Do you have anything on Patrick Henry, Aaron? Or either one, really?
I'm just really, I mean, their line, is going to be too much for Battle. Still looking for their first win of the year, and it's not going to be this Friday. They're going to have to wait at least another week. And to be honest with you, Battle possibly is a 0-10 team this year. I mean, from what it looks like so far. So, yeah, good pick, Jamar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Battle is they had one good half against Virginia High where they kind of limited Burks a little bit, but that was it because I think the next week they played Holston, I think. And
Holston drilled them.
Yeah, we had talked about how they had a little bit of success against Virginia High. We thought they might do something. Oh, we still picked Holston, but
they're like 8-9 miles apart,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean it's a big rival game, so you throw everything out with that game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean I agree with both of you guys. I have Patrick Henry. And big shout out to Tyler Barrett that was on last week. For those that are listening, go check out that interview with him. He's going to be playing on Saturdays at some point, and nothing against like playing at Wise or anything like that, but this kid's going to be possibly with Tech or somebody else. I mean,
That's where we're.
got a lot of talent.
That's where we're hoping. We're hoping that he doesn't do what he kind of talked to us about. He needs to just forget that whole trip altogether and he just stay in Blacksburg.
He's got a trip coming up.
Sure, he's not going to try to pass Blacksburg up.
I think he may take a visit.
Yeah.
Cameron, have you been in this guy's ear or what?
I mean, I tried, but I will admit, I think his visit's for track. So,
yeah, that might be what it is.
Yeah, because I think he's won state every single year in either shot put or discus in track. And if you've ever seen on Twitter, I think it's on Twitter, him running the 100-yard dash as the 100-meter, it's scary to see somebody that big run that quick. Because I think he runs like a 4.8, 4.9, 40.
God.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Have you seen him play in person, Aaron?
I've never seen him in person.
You need to try to get to watch him at some point if you can. He's impressive.
Yeah, he definitely is, and super humble kid. Great kid.
I saw him on y'all's show, man. Mm-hmm. I was real impressed with his demeanor.
Yeah, he actually, I think from what I don't know if he mentioned it to us or Coach mentioned it to us, but he's related, might even be a brother or stepbrothers with Goodspeed from last year, the star running back. So
makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. We'll go to this next one, and I think that you'll probably have a lot more information on this one than what we might. But it's Ridgeview 4-0 at Lee 2-1. Ridgeview's Rhino Quinn passed for 174 yards last week and 2 touchdowns. Also rushed for a touchdown and a win over Virginia High. Something that I learned from y'all's podcast was Lee's quarterback, Pendergraph. I didn't really know anything about him until I listened to you guys. I know some of y'all are pretty big fans of him. Last week, he only completed 5 passes, but 4 of them were for touchdowns. So, Aaron, who do you have on this one, Ridgeview or Lee?
Well, I'll be honest with you. In the preseason, Lee was looking very, very impressive. We went and saw him scrimmage Tazewell, and they handled Tazewell very well. And you all probably, I don't know if you've seen Tazewell live or not, but they're humongous line. I mean, huge. I was really going to kind of looking impressive. They had a good, impressive showing this past week at Pineville, which Pineville's really down, have been for the past couple of years. Pendergraph can throw the deep ball, probably about as nice a deep ball as anybody that you'll see. I mean that's including Reese. That's including all these top 3-4 quarterbacks that we're looking at right now. But the line's having a little struggle keeping pressure off from him and stuff. But I think if they can give him some time, they do have a shot at this. Like I said, I'm not really on the Ridgeview wagon yet, but I hate to say it, but I'm probably go with the Wolfpack this week, though. That's a safe pick for me, though. I'd like to see it go the other way around, though.
So weather-wise, what would the bad weather? Who would that favor more in this one? Lee?
Definitely Ridgeview.
I don't know much about Lee High other than I've heard about the quarterback and stuff. Not real familiar. Ridgeview, all I know is O'Quinn, really good quarterback and got good receivers, but not sure where they're gonna match up when they come against some a little stiffer competition. But for this week, I'll go with Wolfpack.
Well, Ridgeview they can pull Honaker to the backfield. He's big, plays out linebacker for them. Defense. I mean, he's a big kid, and he can pound the ball for them when they need it. So definitely, they've got that as a weapon as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely Ridgeview has the favor here.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I'm going with Ridgeview. Kind of like what you mentioned. I think you have more people you can kind of throw into it with Ridgeview. You got a lot more pieces. They got good depth. Lee does have a good quarterback, and I really enjoyed listening to their coach on y'all's podcast too. I think he seems like a great guy. I'd like to see them keep it close, but I think with the weather, on top of just Ridgeview has a lot of talent. They again, we don't know yet against a team like Union or Graham, but uh, in this comparison, I think they got way more pieces, and I'm not just talking about like in the backfield, but just all around. I think they're spread out there. They might not be particularly great at two or three positions, but I think they're good everywhere.
Yeah, they're solid, very solid. See, last year they were, a playoff team that went through a big injury bug there, the bit them hard, and they returned everybody off that last year's team. On one, they replaced one player on offense and one on defense. So, they're practically solid back. So,
Yeah,
but
and we got some people that send us highlights and stuff from Ridgeview, and it seems like a lot of the touchdown throws are going to different receivers. So I feel like
yeah.
the chemistry is getting better this year, especially with Oakland being healthy. Something I do look forward to, and this is next week, but I look forward to seeing Rycove and Lee play just to see. I know that Rycove's got a lot of talent, but I'm just interested to see that matchup. Maybe I could be talking it up more than what it needs to be. But
Oh no, I'm definitely gonna get some algorithms going next week
yeah,
on that one.
yeah. All right. Let's see what we got next. Well, this one right here also will be one that I feel like uh, be a specialty for you. Like you're going to know a whole lot more about this one. Union 2-2 at Gate City 3-1. Walker Hillman for Gate City had 191 yards last week. Gate City beat Marion for the seventh straight time. And, we've talked about it a little bit, but Union lost in the Classic against Graham. Their quarterback, Cam Bostic, had an 82-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. But, other than that, it kind of became a big defensive battle. And I know they got some, pieces even besides Cam. Keith Chandler was on y'all's podcast. I think it was last week. And I really enjoyed listening to that. So they've got some really good weapons there. What do you think about that game?
Well, Gay City's got the key players to match up with them as far as that goes. Right now, I just feel like on offense, the struggles being the line's really young, so they're starting to maybe come together, and they've on their third quarterback now, which I think sometimes you find that diamond in the rough. They may have found it. This kid, he actually threw the ball, and which gives you Caden as an extra wide receiver, and then the other Jackson boy that has been playing some quarterback now. He's more as a wide out too, and that gives you a little bit of better option on the side. Now Caden's got the breed. You know what I'm saying? His whole family was D1. They were all Tech players. He's got uncles and stuff that NFL players. He's got the breed line. That's Jake Hauser. I don't know if y'all remember Jake. I graduated with Jake. So he's got that house right. It just hasn't clicked in his head yet. And I think once it does, then he's going to be somebody special to look out for. But now, as a whole here, I'm just going to come to my podcast and really listen to what I have to say tomorrow. But Union in this game.
Yeah, I'll take Union.
Yeah, I think it could be a closer game than people think. Just because, after Union played against Graham last week, you might have a little bit of a letdown. Maybe not. The coaching staff over there does a great job. So, but I think I could see something around like 28-14 or something like that, especially with the weather being a factor. But I have Union winning. Um, so you have a lot of ties to Gay City. They're social media people. Are they not the best around here? They do
Yeah,
a
man.
great job.
You know, they kind of actually just this year started a program in school for that. And that thing's fixing to really blow up and blossom. You know, I've actually been talking to them myself about some ways of, you know, integrating like some more video stuff, doing their starting lineups and stuff like that through. It's going to be pretty cool. Jeremy is trying very hard to get a jumbotron so he can flash them up on the jumbotron for the starting lineups.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
He's all about impressing, so I love that too.
I don't know. I haven't. been over there not that many times, but I did see that they wrote a article in the
Yeah,
paper about is it Legion Field? So it's called.
Legion Field. Yeah,
Yeah. So do you have before we go to the next one? Do you have any cool stories about Legion Field, or do they have any traditions or anything they
yeah,
do over
man.
there?
It's just loud and proud. They got the train horns, which I started that too myself, which I don't do it anymore. The horns still are mine, but I've let these other guys, take that over, the younger generations. But in 97, we won state championship right there on the field against a fairly good Broadway Gobblers team. And it happened the end of it, man. It was like was winning 17-0, and Jake broke a 73-yard touchdown up the home sidelines, and you could just hear the crowd roar. And for a way for him to close out his career at Gate City with that run was just awesome. The sirens going, and I mean, I've seen some huge crowds at that there, man, and played in some big games, man. That's a place when I even still this day when I walk in that stadium, I still get cold chills. And there's a lot of people that I know from like that we played like at North, that when they would come over and play, they would talk about how it's just a special feeling there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of places like in even driving distance from here that I'm glad that Bristol's doing that. The paper because I think that it needs like the Cliff and Hurley, for example, like
Yeah.
those things need to be documented, and it's cool seeing a little bit of a backstory behind them. And I'm sure I don't know if they've done it yet. I'm sure Bullet Park will probably be one coming up too, if they haven't already done it.
Oh, I'm sure it has to.
Yeah.
Especially since they're fixing to name it after Phil. So
No, I know that. Um, so I think I probably know which way we're going to go with this next one too. But Tazewell 2-1 at Princeton 4-0. Tazewell's Carter Creasy last week was 15-24 at 237 passing yards and a touchdown. Also rushed for 131 yards on 14 carries in a blowout win over Fort Chiswell. Um, I'll go ahead. I don't know if I even picked. Oh yeah, I picked the other one. But anyway, I'll go ahead and say my pick before I send it over to you. I have Princeton winning this. I went through their schedule, and I know that I think they played Carroll County. No, not Carroll County. Bluefield. They played Bluefield, and I thought maybe that might be somewhat of a close game because how Bluefield played close with Graham, and then Graham played pretty well with Princeton. I think in a scrimmage. Well, Princeton beat Bluefield 63-7. So I think
yeah.
they're just completely loaded. I don't see anybody stopping them. I'm not very smart in West Virginia football, but they just seem to have all the weapons and a lot of D1 talent over there. So it kind of sucks for Tazewell because I feel like they're a better team this year, but you had Riverheads week 1, and now you're at Princeton week 5. I'm going with Princeton. Aaron, who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Princeton too. They're special, and I mean that when they beat Bluefield, I think Bluefield at that point in time had kind of figured some of their offense out, so they were a better team when they played Princeton than they were when they met Graham. So Princeton's that's special. So I'm definitely not going against that.
I mean, miracles happen every day, but I don't. That's what it'll take for Tazewell to beat them Friday. So I'm gonna go with Princeton.
You had me worried for a second. I won't say worried, but you
I
had me
mean,
shocked
I'm
for a
just saying,
second. I was wondering.
strange things happen. You never know. That's why you play, but
Yeah.
odds are not gonna.
Yeah, I would. You about to be Tazewell's biggest fan there for a second. So,
I don't. I mean, no. There's no. I was gonna try to see if I was gonna try to come up with something good if they could or whatever. I don't see any way for them to handle all that.
no, I don't think there's many teams over here that can. Graham 4-0 at Virginia High 2-2. Graham's defense, maybe in my opinion, I don't know if I share this with anybody, but their defense may be the most impressive unit in all of Southwest Virginia. I think they have been playing phenomenal. Hear the quality of opponents they had. I know there were some of them were single A, but great programs. Um, in the game last week, they only allowed 1 first down and 0 total yards in the second half against Union. Virginia High, their quarterback continues to play pretty well. Deion Graham, he rushed for 76 yards. But one of their best players, Keyshawn Smith, was held to just 1 catch for 13 yards against Ridgeview. Aaron, what do you got in this one?
I'll be honest with you, last year, that game was Virginia. I actually played them close, a lot closer than a lot of people thought they would. And Virginia has got a lot of athletes. They rely on speed and everything. And then you look at the weather, too. I think Graham can power them. And then, like you said, that defense is absolutely lights out, man. And you saw it last week. You saw 2 great defensives going after each other. And I just think that Graham's going to be way too much for the Bearcats this week.
Yeah, I'll take the G-Men.
Yeah, we mentioned it last week on the pod. For some reason, I just feel like Virginia High's almost like underachieved this year. I guess in some ways, I felt like they had the athletes and the talent there to maybe be a little better. I know they played against some tough competition, but they just haven't really impressed me yet. Not for what I thought they would be. So yeah, I have Graham going 5-0. This one right here, I don't know a whole lot about Cumberland Gap, but they're at Twin Springs, and Twin Springs is 2-1. I do know that Cumberland Gap hasn't won a game all year, and they did get beat by Thomas Walker 35-8. Twin Springs started the year strong, but then lost 40-0 last week against what I think is a struggling J.I. Burton team this year. Twin Springs quarterback Clay Ross started this year strong. Now, unfortunately, he's out for the rest of the season. So, prayers for him. But Coach Warner and the Big Red crew, they're going to have to refocus and kind of see what's going to work going forward. So, what do you think about Twin Springs bouncing back this week?
Well, this Twin Springs has got more than just a quarterback going. They've got like 4 or 5 different kids playing different positions now, starting in different places than what they did at the start of the season. Cumberland Gap's not a really good team at all either. So, I mean, honestly, it's still at this point, I feel like you could throw up a coin at it. Man, I don't know. I picked Twin Springs on my podcast. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I kind of wished I hadn't in a way. But I'm still gonna ride with my boys. I don't want to make Coach Warner mad at me there. So I'm still gonna go with. I can't help you on this one because, honest to goodness, Cumberland's not that good of a team either. They've been getting blowed out by everybody too. But.
Go ahead, Jay Moore.
No offense to, Coach Warner or anybody that's playing at Twin Springs at the current moment, and this is nothing personal towards anybody at all. But anytime I get a chance to pick against Twin Springs, I'll take it. So I'm gonna go Cumberland Gap.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Twin Springs. I think that they're gonna start figuring out some things to work. Like you said, a lot of players in different positions, but I do like defensively. I think that Coach Warner, I think that program, they've had some decent defenses over the years. So I'm gonna have the defense stepping up big in this one, and probably what's gonna be a mud bowl in all the football games. But the weather's probably gonna be pretty nasty there too. So I have Twin Springs winning it.
And I just want to be real clear again. And for anybody, I don't know if we have any listeners in Nicholsville, Twin Springs. This is nothing personal. This goes back about 18 years, I guess, now. Let's see.
You must be a basketball player.
Yeah.
Well, we lost to them in playoffs in football too, so there's a lot of negative feelings for Twin Springs. So, but yeah, basketball was the main one, but there was that one football game. So this again, nothing personal. I got my favorite people in the world live in Nicholsville, other than my wife, obviously, my parents. But so nothing against them, but I'm gonna not pick them if I can help it.
For you to say it went back 18 years makes it seem kind of personal.
When I say personal, I don't mean against any one person there at Twin Springs. For me, yeah, it's personal. It's not against any one person or any particular people. It's just
no Urbans.
no Urban for me. No, it's well,
Maybe a Docker.
one of them married to my sister, but no, I'm just kidding. It's not him. It's just bad. You develop rivalries and you don't let them go, I guess.
Oh, I got you, dog. I got you.
All right. Northwood 2-2 at Chilhowie 2-2. Northwood's coming off a lopsided win against Twin Valley last week. Brody Waddle had 152 rushing yards on just 7 carries and 3 touchdowns. Chilhowie's coming off of a 20-0 loss against Eastside. The week before that, they also dropped one of the Narrows. Asher Chapman from Chilhowie had 155 passing yards in that loss, as Eastside went to 4-0 for the first time in program history. What do you have on this one, Aaron? Northwood at Chilhowie.
Well, if you're Northwood, you're glad it's a short bus ride home, so you can hurry up and nurse them wounds. I've got Chilhowie big in this one, probably around the 56-0 mark.
Yeah, I mean I think it's Coach Moore says it on after whistle Chahar, or I'm not sure how he says it, but it's interesting. It's pretty close, yeah. But give me them.
Yeah, I've got Chilhowie too. I think they have. We talked about it last week. I think after that Narrows loss, it kind of surprised us a little bit. And I didn't get to watch the Eastside game last week. I know it was kind of close there for a minute, but I think they played each other close last year. I think Chilhowie may have won that one.
Yeah, Chilhowie did come back and win that one last year.
So Chilhowie's kind of an odd team. I'm still trying to figure out myself where they're at.
Well, Eastside is too. They start slow.
Yeah, but I do think that I think Northwood has got some pieces to kind of in the coming years to get a little bit better, but they don't have it this year. And so I agree with you, Aaron, and Jamar. It could be a blowout. I have Chilhowie big. Holston 3-1 at the Cliff against Hurley 1-3, and what is definitely going to be a muddy field up there too. If you ever played at the Cliff in the mud, it's pretty rough. Holston finally came down from their high last week and lost to Honaker. Before last week, Holston was averaging 411 rushing yards per game. Last week they were held to 261, which still isn't terrible, but Noah Tweed and Luke Green both had over 90 rushing yards. Hurley lost last week to Riverview, but Cannon Justice and Duty appear to be bright spots for them. I think we shared a clip maybe yesterday or the day before of a nice pass they had, and that's not typically something you see from Hurley that much. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Before I send it over to you, I'm going to go, especially in a rainy game like this, Holston, after that loss, I've got Holston winning this one. I do think that the weather at the Cliff could be an issue. I don't know if Holston, like this group of kids, has been over there or not. So that is, something to consider. But I have Holston winning.
Yeah, do Riverview that it was they're a top 10 ranked team in West Virginia, aren't they?
We were talking about this exact same thing last week. We think that they are, but then we don't know if that's the same Riverview because I think Hurley beat them the last 3 years. I think so. I don't know. I feel like that it is
2024, baby.
Yes, I don't know.
Well, the way I see this one is, if Holston can survive the old bus ride over to Lee, I don't think the Cliff's going to scare them at that point. So I got them big, 45-12.
Yeah, I took the word around. I was going to say if they don't get lost on the way there and they can show up, they're going to have a good chance of winning. Cliff with the water dripping off is a whole different sight to behold in itself. But yeah, once they get over the shock and awe during warm ups, once the game starts, I feel like the running, they're going to be a little more outmatched for Hurley. So give me the Holston. What are they? Cavaliers? Or?
Yep.
All right. We don't got too many more. I think we actually just have one more. So we got Twin Valley 0-3 at Craig County 2-0. not a whole lot to talk about so far, Twin Valley, unfortunately. Braden White, he looks to be playing well so far. Craig County seems to be having a decent year. They've beat Bland County and Auburn. I know Bland is, I think they're pretty down. But I do want to shout out the D coordinator for Craig County, though, Jake Dowdy. He talks to us quite a bit, or tweets us quite a bit on there. So I guess he's a listener. So I want to give him a shout out. I feel like Craig County seems to have a pretty solid squad this year. I have them beating Twin Valley. And as a former alumni of Twin Valley, I hate to say this. There's only a few games where we have circled on a schedule this year that I we're going to try to get that win on, but it's not this week. Aaron, what do you got?
Well, I mean, honestly, you'd have to coach me through this when I have nothing on either one of them. I really don't know a whole lot about either one of these teams, so I'm just gonna take your word for it, and I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon with you.
Actually, I think this was one of the ones that probably circled when the year started. I'm not sure if it's still circled, but I know it's probably one out of the ones remaining. It's probably one of them. It's a long trip. I don't know why I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway and give you the old Lee Corso not so fast. I think there's going to be a shocker and a miracle pulled out Thursday night against the Rockets. So give me Twin Valley and the Fighting Kriegers.
I should have held back the last on that.
No, you're probably right in your pick.
Yeah, I think that.
And I'm probably just too loyal.
Yeah, I don't know what Auburn has this year either. They did beat Auburn 7-0, so like I said, the Bland County game, it's kind of hard to go off that because Bland County is not very good. They did kill Bland County, but yeah, it pains me to do it, but I'm going to go with Craig County.
Well, they got somebody back this week that's playing. That did play last week, but didn't really run the ball any. If he can get, I feel like he may get some more touches this week. Maybe I don't know. That's not an inside scoop. It's just a theory that I have that could happen. And if it happens, that could be a little bit different of a look that they can present. So that's what I'm going off of. But I hope I'm right. But if not, I won't be surprised either.
So see, he had the inside scoop, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what it sounds like.
I'm afraid it won't matter, but I hope it does.
I'm just going to throw these next few out. If you do have something you want to say about them, feel free to. Some of these I don't know as much about, but Tennessee High 1-3. They're traveling to Abingdon 4-0. We'll say that Luke Honaker is averaging 19 yards per touch through 4 games, and I found out through a fan that he right now doesn't have, I don't think, any college looks, or maybe he's starting to get them. I don't know, but he's been a heck of a ball player. But just picks on that one. To you first, Aaron. Sorry.
Yeah, Tennessee High. They're not the Tennessee High that they have been in the past. I mean, you're still looking for a 5A Tennessee school. I think Abingdon has a good shot to play with them, but I still think that depth and everything. I mean, Tennessee High's got. They're still pretty daggone good. But I mean, if Abingdon's gonna get them, they need to get them this year. The Vikings may have to work for it, but I think they're gonna make life hard on the old Falcons up there, and I'm going Tennessee High in this one.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I hope I didn't lead you wrong, man, but that's just the way I feel.
I'll be different.
I mean, Abingdon does have a shot at this. They really do.
It's in Tennessee High, right?
No, it's at Abingdon.
It's at Abingdon.
That might make a difference. I don't know, but I'm gonna stick with him and follow his lead. I'll go with the Vikings.
Well, let me help you here. Tennessee High plays on turf, so this is going to be on natural grass. So, I mean, maybe that helps you too.
Well, I'm going to be different on this one. I think I've kind of sided with y'all on most of them, but I'm going to go with Abingdon. I just feel like they've got something special this year, and I do think the numbers and stuff definitely probably favors Tennessee High. I'm just really high on Honaker, and running back Owen Barr. I feel really good about them going into this matchup. with the weather being the way it's going to be, and maybe that'll help a little bit, like you said, on the grass. I have them winning in a close one, and like you said, they got to get them this year because they probably won't have too many chances to get Tennessee High. I think they're going to win this one. I think it's going to be close. Big win for Abingdon. George Wythe 2-2 at Rural Retreat 2-1. George Wythe's had some pretty stiff competitions this far. They're coming off a blowout win over Carroll County, so that's pretty impressive. I don't know a whole lot though about Rural Retreat this year, just a few things, but I'm gonna go with George Wythe on that one, and I think what could be close because of the weather, I think George Wythe still seals it up pretty good. Aaron, what you got?
Yeah, I got this one right here. Honestly, George Wythe probably going to win this game, but they're going to leave nursing some bruises. I got it pretty close, like 35-28. George Wythe.
Yeah, I'll go with George Wythe. Don't know much, don't know really have a good educated guess, but there's probably a few more athletes on George Wythe's team than there are Rural Retreats. That might be the difference.
Yeah, they're tough.
That was all the games we had. I want to mention that bye weeks, Eastside, Y Central, J.I. Burton. If there's any more that y'all can think of, that's 3 I found. But before I get off here, we're going to close this out because we've definitely went pretty late tonight. I hate to keep you up so late, Aaron, and J-Mar for that matter.
I'm fixing to leave and go back to work here in a minute.
Before we get off here, just because I asked you or I messaged you earlier and I didn't want you to kind of think about them and then me not ask you, just last thing before we get off here, you all cover college football, so if you just want to throw out real quick your Heisman so far and your best team.
Yeah, I'm the best team right now. I'm kind of torn. Texas is playing really, really good right now. This week's going to tell us a lot. You got Alabama and Georgia going after it. But I'm real impressed with Tennessee right now. Tennessee's kind of looks like the old Tennessee with this style defense that they're playing. I'm loving that, seeing that come back. I'm probably going to lead. I'm probably going to go all orange in this, to be honest with you. I think as far as Heisman goes, Nico really he's climbing the ladder fast, and I think if they can get a win over Alabama at home and pull out maybe a win over Georgia, that's a long shot. But if they can at least get those two and get in the playoffs, I think he really has a good shot at winning this Heisman this year. If he don't win it this year or next year, then he's not going to get it because he's going to be gone.
Yeah, and I think that I agree with both those statements. I think he has a real good shot at winning it, and I think they have been probably the most impressive team, just what they've been doing. I'll save y'all the talk about Virginia Tech for maybe next time we do this. Don't want to end on a bad note. So,
listen at the who.
I know.
Over your talking.
I got to throw in something while our record's better. Give it about 2 more weeks, and it's not going to be the case. Again, man, thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast. For everybody that hasn't watched Tailgate Talk with the Boys, go and check them out. Well, Aaron, where can they find you at?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. Tailgate Talk with the Boys. We're also on YouTube, which we of course we're not doing video just yet. But then we're on Apple. Most of your top streaming for your podcast favorites: Google, Apple, Spotify. So yeah,
I really enjoy listening to your show. I love just the talk between you and all your the guests and your co-hosts. I laugh more probably with that show than I do most others. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't checked it out yet, go and check them out. Marty, you have anything before we get off here?
No, I just appreciate your time. Looking forward to maybe getting back with you at some point later in the year and recapping the season or stuff like that and talking a little bit more. And we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for having us on and everything. And we'll definitely be plugging you guys as well. Y'all do a wonderful job. I listen to you every week, every one of your things. I do a lot of driving, so I'm listening to some type of podcast, and I love putting your guys in and listening to it. So y'all do a great job, and I appreciate you for taking time to reach out to us and inviting us on.
I appreciate
Thank you.
that, and yeah, anytime that you need anything from us, you just shoot me a message, and I would love to get over there. I'm sure Jay Moore too, because y'all do yours in person, right?
Yeah, we do ours live. We record it live, but now we're trying to get our equipment together too, which is it's a lot of money, man. Y'all know,
Yeah.
so we're going to try to improve some stuff, and when we do video, we're wanting to do it right. So I like what you guys got here. This may be something that I'll actually look into.
Yep. I
So
mean, it works great most of the time. You always have hiccups with technology, but yeah, just shoot us a message anytime you need, if you are interested in it. And yeah, we definitely love to get over there at some point, sit down with y'all, and maybe have something good to eat and talk a little bit. Uh,
absolutely.
and we definitely need to catch up with you at one of the ball games. I'm sure that we'll be crossing paths a few times there. I think we both have a good eye as far as what games we need to go and watch. But
Yeah, getting to them is the hard part with the way
yeah,
we work. We're in blasting, so we're in coal mines and rock quarries and stuff, and sometimes it just kills us from getting off work on Fridays. And it seems like everybody wants to do the worst thing on Friday,
yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, it is. I mean,
like
J Moore's
tomorrow,
the
I'm
same
going to
way.
West Virginia, so
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, J Moore, he's the same way. As soon as he gets off, it's, kind of a mad dash to try to get there, I think, sometimes. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I won't hold y'all up any longer. Again, thank you. Thank you for coming on. It was a great episode. Love talking to you. Everybody out there, thank you again for the support. Go and share this if you haven't yet. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it. Guys, God bless.
Yeah. Peace.
You hit it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.